Hello again, everybody. I'm Rick with EcoSteps Coatings. Today we're going to talk a little bit about spray guns, the very basics of them. This will hold true for just about every type of coating that you're going to spray with. There is a ton of different guns out there. Everything from super inexpensive $19, $20 import guns all the way up to several thousand dollar automotive type guns. A lot of difference between them? Not a lot of difference between them. We're going to focus on spraying, obviously, EcoSteps coatings, waterborne lacquers, and so forth through it. But again, the basics will hold true to just about anything. Let's go over a couple of types of spray applications. You've got conventional HVLP style gun. Pretty much everything has to be HVLP today. So you've got your HVLP style guns, you've got your cap spray guns, or that's a generic name, your turbine fed guns, working off a turbine, flowing air through. There's a ton of different models of those out there. You've got your airless spray systems, excellent for production, lots of volume, some downsides to it, and your air-assisted airless, the Cadillac of them all. We're going to focus on your handheld spray guns. A lot of work is done that way, especially a lot of field work. So I'm just going to kind of run through the basics of these. Everyone seems to be intimidated by them, probably because of the varied amount of prices that you see available out there. Some of the ones that really look trick are really cheap and a really big waste of money. So let's kind of run over a couple of them here. Let's start with this one. This is a pressure pot model. Got a 2-quart remote pressure pot, very convenient, holds a decent amount of material. You can hold this off your hip, hook it onto your belt loop, what have you. You've got a gun, can work at any angle, upside down, sideways, forward, whatever. Very convenient for that, and some production lines out of it as well. This here is my old tried and true demo gun. I've been using this one for a lot of years. It's an HVLP fed gun. Basically HVLP, high volume, low pressure. In case you didn't know, it looks just like a conventional gun that's been around for 100 years. But this one does convert and help with the amount of overspray and so forth, the emissions portion of things. Very basic one, trick little stand I picked up. It's always a problem with gravity feed guns is after you pop the air off, what do? Everyone's kind of balancing them and so forth. This little thing just pops on and off out of the way, gives you a nice stable platform for it. Really like this guy. But I've been changed the cup a few times, not the cup it came with, but it works out really well. In fact, another thing I'll mention, waterborne coatings in particular, the aluminum cups that are on them, quite often will get the little deposits on there, called kind of an aluminum rust, if you will. But little deposits inside the cups, kind of hard to get out. Cups are cheap. Don't waste your time trying to get that. Get a new cup, pop it on there, ditch the other one. It's more time wasted than not. This little guy, really like this one for some smaller projects. Looks kind of strange. You can see it's kind of offset instead of standard wise. The beauty of this one, you can spray like normal like this, but what happens to this gun when you have to tip over? And I've got material in here so I won't tip too far. If you tip too far, material starts to flow out. You've got to spray something vertically or the other direction. This little guy right here, if you've got to spray perfectly down, you can swivel that cup down, spray away. If you've got to spray up, you can tilt it up, spray away. Gives you a lot of control this way. It's also a smaller gun, great for touch-up, not what you're going to use for big projects, but for small stuff it's great. Pretty inexpensive gun too. I like this one a lot. Has its definite place. Okay, the real basics of the gun. This guy right here, I'm just going to disconnect it from the hoses. Make life a little easier for myself. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Let's see if that comes off there easily. Okay, let's move this guy out of the way so you can... Actually, you know what? Tell you what, I'll run through this really quickly. 2-quart pressure pot. You got about 4 or 5 feet of hose coming off it. Air goes in here, pressurizes the cup, forces material out through the bottom hose there, the clear hose. Air is passing by here. You adjust your pressure in the cup depending. Great rule of thumb, great trick. You turn your air all the way off at the gun. No air coming through. When you half squeeze that trigger, nothing's passing through. Material's off, squeeze the trigger all the way down. You want to increase the pressure in the pot So you get a stream coming out 3 to 5 feet in front of you. So you hold it out, squeeze the trigger, it's just a stream shooting out, not a spray pattern, a stream. And you're at about that 3 to 5 foot range. That's perfect amount of pressure in here. Usually winds up being about 10, 15 psi. Now you can start increasing your air pressure here until it atomizes. It's a quick little tip and trick for that. Okay, I'm going to move this guy out of the way. Set that down. Okay, parts of the gun. This is your air cap. This atomizes the material as it comes out. Got the air holes inside of it. All of them are different. Some have a ton of air holes, some only have a couple. It's really in the design of the air cap from each manufacturer as to how it works. They all work pretty decently. Back end here, this is your material control. This is how much material comes out. This valve here is your spray pattern, kind of the width, narrow, wide. Down here, cheater valve for your air. Some of them have this, some don't. You don't have it on there, get an external cheater valve. It saves you a lot of time. I don't care about the gauges. I'm not a big fan of the gauges. You look at the spray pattern more than anything. If we back all this out, see all the various components. Spring, grease on that guy. Squeeze this out. That's your needle, right in there. And the fluid nozzle, right there. That's where the material comes out. Fluid nozzle and needle work together in relation with the air cap. You really need all three of them. They're numbered. A lot of manufacturers use different kinds of numbers for it. It makes it real friggin' confusing for us when somebody's calling up with an off-brand and it's labeled a number 4 or what have you. It's not millimeters, it's tough to figure out. A lot of the manufacturers do that on purpose just to make you buy their stuff for it. It's a pain in the butt, but it is what it is. I happen to like, for my material, for the waterborne materials, I like 1.7 to a 1.8. If you're working off a pressure pot like that, you can drop it down to a 1.4 comfortably. They tend to work at a little bit lower size tip. You want all of them to be the same. All of them are stamped. They're usually laser etched somewhere on here. On this air cap, that's usually the easiest place to see it. This is a 1.5. The needle's a 1.5. And on the fluid nozzle, etched on one of the wrench flats, you'll see a 1.5. They all work together. That is the basics of the gun. There's some seals in here. Usually when it leaks, it's from back in here, the packing nut from it. It's an easy repair. You can take it to your local shop. You can do it yourself. They're not expensive. You might screw one up on that packing, depending on who the manufacturer is. Some of them use like a Teflon wad. Some of them use a little kind of a plastic seal in there. It's really easy. But if you don't want to mess with it, bring it to your shop. Word of advice, most shops, including ours, charge by the hour. So bring the gun in clean. Save yourself quite a bit of money on that. Let us reassemble this. So we're going to put the fluid nozzle on first. Reason for that is you don't want to be twisting this on the needle itself. You want to keep them separate. So we'll tighten that back on. Most of these come with a wrench, handy dandy wrench that you lose pretty quickly, but if you don't, this goes on. You don't over tighten it. Just give it a little tighten there. It doesn't have to be cinched down tight, especially when they're new. The needle valve goes in back. Press that in with your thumb. The spring goes in. I usually just kind of pressure with my thumb, twist with the other one until the threads catch. You're in. Screw this back on. There is a little O-ring, plastic O-ring inside of this. You want to make sure you don't lose that. I do recommend anytime you're cleaning your guns that you do it on a clean surface and you keep all your parts together. It's easy to lose them. But that is it. This gun is now back together. Again, this valve back here controls how much material comes out. You can see I got a big pull on it right there. If I tighten this down quite a bit, only a little bit of a pull. And you can keep going. You can really control these things down to a pretty fine line. If you turn your fan pattern all the way down and control this one all the way down, you can get almost a pinstripe even out of a gun of this size. Really a lot of control. People don't usually take the time. They want to open everything up wide and just blow the stuff on, kind of a blow and go mentality. That has its place, not always the right course of action. These guns also come with a cup, siphon feed cup underneath. A lot of times they can be interchanged, a siphon feed cup and a pressure pot. They work together. I want to mention real quick, cleaning kit. I think it's invaluable. I think these are invaluable. I don't care if you spray with an airless most of the time. You need one of these to get into some of the tight areas. This kit here, pretty inclusive kit. You don't use a lot of the parts, but they're nice to have. My favorite part of this kit is these little guys here. This is probably the most valuable. They're little tiny spiral wire brushes. Hard to see, but they're basically miniature versions of the big guys. But they get into the air holes and so forth and really keep this thing clean. I like to clean the guns every time after a day's use. It seems like a pain in the butt. It will save you a ton of time cussing people out, cussing your employees, everything. Just get in the habit of doing it. It's an extra 3 to 5 minutes at the end of the day. It's not a lot of time. Okay, real quickly, I want to talk about the spray pattern and adjusting these properly. I kind of told you how on a pressure pot to set it up. The way you know you've got a good spray pattern, adjusting your material versus air and so forth, when that sprays out, and it depends a little bit on the style of tip you're using, but let's say it's an oval pattern that you're coming out with. If you were to spray, say I took that gun and just went right there, same spot, you should have drips coming evenly all the way down. Everything should be dripping about evenly. If you spray out and you've got a ton of drips here, maybe just a little bit here, it's not set up correctly. It could be one of the air holes clogged, something like that. It should be an even drip all the way around. Likewise, your pattern, if you just do a quick pass, and I like doing this on brown paper, just taking the gun and just doing a real quickly up. That spray pattern should look, that spray pattern should look pretty even all the way through. No heavy lines, everything's about even all the way through. A lot of times what you'll see is big, heavy lines on the edge and very little inside. Again, it's either an unclean gun or your material flow is too much for your air, things like that. A little bit of trial and error, you nail it down. Everything changes. I don't care whether you're talking solvent or waterborne. You're doing this in the dead of winter, you're going to have to do some adjustments versus the middle of summer. Temperature plays a role on both. Sometimes plays a little bit more on waterborne, not as much as what people think though. That is it. That is, in a nutshell, your spray guns. Touching quickly, air-assisted airless is an airless piston operating, airless. It's a piston that's operated off of air. Air pipes in, causes the piston to go up and down. Cadillac of systems gives you the best finish overall. Love using it. It's quiet as all get out. You don't consume a ton of air. A little bit pricey on the machines. The smaller ones, I really like the smaller ones from Binks. Not to drop names or anything like that, but I do like theirs quite a bit. There's a ton of other ones. They're all good. A little more temperamental on those ones, and they are a little pricey. You're going to start out, $2,500 or so. And airless, there's a couple different manufacturers of those out there. Graco, Titan 440 is another one I'm going to drop a name on. I really like that one. Small, compact, incredibly efficient and reliable. Double orifice tip. Anytime you're spraying your finish, use a double orifice tip. You've got a pre-orifice behind the actual spray pattern that breaks it up twice. It is a definite difference on it. So spend the extra bucks, get one of those, and then set them aside. Don't use them for putting on primer. There's no need for that. Save them for your clears, your top coats, things like that. The turbines, several of those out there. Some are better than other ones. Personal preference. Same with the guns. It's all about personal preference. Talk to other guys. Call us up, what have you. We'll give you some advice. I deal with every manufacturer out there, so we aren't really in bed with any of them. I got personal preferences. I can give you a list of 10 guys that tell me I'm full of crap, that my preferences don't mean anything. I'm not out in the field like they are. There's a lot of validity to that. Talk to your peers. Talk to them. See what they like, why they like it, what they don't like about another brand. And then make your own decisions on it. I think that's it for today. I'm Rick with EcoSense Coatings again. Talk to you soon. Thank you.